8:31, we will begin the meeting with a roll call.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. Roll call, Vice Chair Faulkner.
Here.
Trustee Abbott.
Here.
Trustee Chandra.
Here.
Trustee Chi.
Here.
Trustee Linder
Here.
is remote, and Trustee Nakagawa.
Here.
Very good. Do we need to qualify? No?
He's under the traditional.
Okay. Always confused about how that works.
Oh, no, we do, we still have to ask him if he's posted and ADA compliant. Yeah.
Okay. Counsel, can you help us with that?
Sorry, Mariah.
Sure, no problem. Hi, Trustee Linder, we need to qualify you under the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules. Are you appearing by the traditional, or you are appearing by the traditional teleconferencing rules? Are you teleconferencing from the address 2 Westwood Road, Santa Cruz, California, 95060?
Yes.
Is the location from which you are teleconferencing ADA accessible and open to the public?
Yes.
Have you posted the agenda at the exterior of the location where you are teleconferencing from so that it can be seen by members of the public?
Yes.
If any member of the public wishes to be heard by the board from the location where you are teleconferencing, can they be heard?
Yes.
Trustee Linder is qualified under the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules to participate in today's meeting. All votes today must be taken by roll call vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have some changes to the order of the day. Items 6.3C and 6.3D will be heard before the consent calendar and after closed session. Looks like we need to waive sunshine on some late attachments, and that is 6.3C1, 6.3C2, and 6.3D1 and 6.3D2. Do we have a motion to waive sunshine?
So moved.
Thank you. From Trustee Chandra, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from we have a second from Trustee Abbott, but recognize that Trustee Linda was close on her tail. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none, we can vote, and it has to be roll call vote. So Trustee Nakagawa?
Approve.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
And Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Sunshine is waived. The next item is closed session, but I think at this time, well, it is, if we can also change and hear public and general comments at this time, as we are waiting for the arrival of Council Chin. At this point, we will take public comment on any item that is subject matter for this board, but is not otherwise on the agenda, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone here or waiting online to speak to us? We have no comment. Okay. So the next item is consent calendar. I'm sorry, next item is the closed session, and we will repair to the closed session room just as soon as Council Chin is here.
So,
We will pause proceedings for the moment.
okay.
Can we do other parts of the agenda? Well, we did want to do 6.3C and D before consent calendar. Is that right? Okay. All right, so we will proceed then with items 6.3C, which is a review of the board operations policy. And let me flip forward to that. A discussion and action on the governance committee recommendation to update the board operations policy. And is there someone here to speak to that? or-
We have Aon here if needed, but I'm happy to give an introduction if Trustee Abbott is okay with that.
Sure.
Okay. The board operation policy went through a review. The review started really because police and fire changed their meeting location. And when we review one, we want to review the other. You'll see there was a handful of updates that needed to be made. We had this reviewed by Reed Smith. We reviewed it with Aon for best practice. We also took in, had a few discussions related to committee term limits, for which we requested Aon to draft some updated language to be considered by the governance committee. Net, the governance committee decided to not keep the strong term limit language and instead opted to add suggestive language for the chair for the chair's consideration. And then lastly, we added some components of the San Jose Municipal Code regarding excused and unexcused absences. These are not new provisions to the San Jose Municipal Code, but as I found a memo from CEO Pena, I think it was 2015, advising the boards with the exact same provision. But we thought it would be good to codify it in the board operation policy.
Okay. And the policy also reiterates something that is part of the city charter, which I think maybe has been flew beneath the radar for us, and that is that if any trustee misses three meetings in a row or 3 meetings throughout the year, they are automatically resigned from the board?
If there are, it's technically it's 20%, which for us equates to three meetings of unexcused absences. So the San Jose Municipal Code has a very short defined list of excused absences, illness of the board member or spouse or a domestic partner, parent, children, sibling, dependent, absence because they are on authorized board business, or the member is a city employee or council member on performing business duties, right? So we do have a handful of trustees who are city employees, and for some reason they couldn't make the meeting, that would also be excused. And then lastly, it says an absence from a meeting from which the board finds to be reasonably good cause. What we also codify in the operations policy is the administrative process for which board members can request unexcused absences to be considered reasonably good cause by their fellow board members.
And the definition of reasonable is not exhaustively defined here, so we have some discretion there. And additionally, it does point out that missing more than 50% of the meeting is considered an absent, and less than 50% is present. Okay. So I think one of the big changes or discussions was the degree to which we want to encourage or codify changes in committee assignments. I know we've had fairly static committee assignments here over the past few years. I did, and the language here is something that I flagged was on committee assignments, ... the need to ensure all board members are exposed to the full range of board responsibilities. And the word ensure seems very strong to me. It seems to me that ultimately we do serve for the benefit of the board and the benefit of our members. So while I do concur that having all trustees be exposed to all committee assignments is an aspirational goal, I wonder if that's something we want to codify as an absolute requirement in this policy. So I'm curious what other trustees may think of that.
I'll just make one comment. The start of that segment, it says, in making such recommendations, the board chair may take into account. So I do think there is a softness in the word may versus shall as an example, but I'll open it up for discussion.
I would just say that I think that this really would be something that former trustee Avasi would think would resonate with in terms of where we went without being fully prescriptive. And I think that may do this to help maybe it's to help ensure, but I think there is a goal, should be a goal for us. And maybe trustees will have a long time, so it may not be within their 4 years, but it may be in their 8 years or 10 years, something like that. They can have exposure to more than just the committees they've been on before. So I think the intent there, and it was 100% approved by both boards of the Joint Governance Committee, and I do think that the way it's worded is appropriate.
Okay. Just any other comments from other trustees on this? And then something also that was a little unclear to me was the next item, number 9. It says, the board chair shall not recommend himself or herself as chair of any such committee. I'm not sure what such committee refers to. That means any other committees?
I'm sorry, which paragraph was this?
This is paragraph 9?
Yeah. Isn't
The
that our
standing
prac-
committees.
Any of the standing committees?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that's our practice today anyway.
Yeah.
okay. I
Oh,
see.
you were just having the word such was unclear in that paragraph.
Because
Not
of,
referring to anything else in that paragraph.
right, the word such was because,
Maybe just change that to standing.
I think it's fine so long as we all understand what it means. But we don't need to wordsmith it here. I will note that Council Chin has joined the proceedings at this point. So with all that said and reviewed, if anyone would like to formulate, we have
I
another
just
question?
had one quick question. This is the only thing that jumped out at me. So I just noticed that it's now paragraph 5, understanding committees, that we struck and ad hoc board. And just as someone who's served on several ad hocs,
Sure.
I'm wondering, is that because that gets subsumed within the idea of board committees?
We broke that out into its own section, so
Yeah.
paragraphs 10 through 12
Oh.
now fully document and recognize ad hoc committees, because, while we were following the practice that's here, it wasn't really well defined and understood that an ad hoc committee could be formed by this board, or an ad hoc committee could be formed by a committee. And when they do that, they have different quorum rules but the formation of an ad hoc committee also always follows the same process.
Okay, so we don't need it in both places.
Right.
Because you've got okay. Shall approve versus may, that was the only difference. So up in the standing committee in paragraph 5, it's, the board shall approve, meaning that you can't do it without board approval. And then the ad hoc section says may, so I interpreted that as ad hocs we might from time to time do them, but I looked at 5 as superseding and saying if we go through that rigmarole, it has to be approved by the board. But if that's not the right way to interpret it, that's fine. That was my only question.
You're a recovering attorney, right?
Yeah. They drill may and
There's-
shall, they drill may and shall into you.
And that's why I'm having like
Is
a.
there-
Two attorneys know.
So I don't.
I mean, does the ad hoc committee sections, paragraphs 10 through 12, the board has to approve them, and it's not a may, it's a shall. So as long as you feel that's it's somewhere in there, I'm not gonna nitpick
I
about
think
it.
it's the board or the committee that approves the ad hoc committee. So if the board is looking to create an ad hoc committee, the board has to approve it.
Yes.
But if the JPC wanted to create an ad hoc committee, the JPC needs to approve it,
Okay.
not the boards.
Okay, and okay, as long as that
Okay.
concept of shall is, okay, that's fine. Okay,
Okay.
that was it, thank you, Chair Horowitz.
Okay. Any other comments or observations? If not, would anyone, again, no comment. Would anyone like to formulate a motion to accept the proposed changes to the board operation policy as written?
I so move.
We have a motion from trustee Abbott. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second from trustee Nakagawa. Any further discussion on the motion? Is there any public comment on the motion? There is no public comment. We can then proceed to vote. Roll call vote. Trustee Nakagawa.
Aye.
Trustee Chandra.
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner.
Aye.
Trustee Abbott.
Aye.
Trustee Chi.
Aye.
And trustee Linder.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The new operations policy is adopted. And I note the desire for rotation through the committees, and it will be duly reflected in my proposed committee assignments later today. The other item we are taking up before closed session is the travel policy. And again, would you like to
Sure.
introduce
Me-
that? I've got some.
The existing travel policy was formulated with significant revisions in about just as I was arriving here. So about a year into this with the significant updates, I solicited feedback from staff, from admin staff, from accounting staff, from trustees, in order to see what was working and where we had some friction points. And we did identify a handful of friction points that required maybe just a little bit more definition within the policy. There was also a drafting error in the policy that was corrected as part of this review. We updated the review cycle, and you're going to see this, I think, across all of our policies, assuming the governance committee agrees, but going from a 5-year review cycle to a 3-year review cycle. And lastly, this has been reviewed by finance, the city finance and city manager's office with minor revisions. And this has been through the joint governance committee twice, with the last one being a unanimous recommendation to both boards.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions or comments about the revised travel policy?
One of the things I just wanted to comment on is that one of the errors was that we had people on the police and fire who were told that they had to go to a cheap, when the conference was sold out, they had to go to a cheaper hotel that was 5 miles away, within 5 miles, and so that made it really difficult for them to go and then come back for when there were events in the evening or breaks and stuff. And so the travel policy has been revised to enable people to go to a comparable facility without talking about the distance, although the preference for staying in the conference facility maintains. So I think that was an important, people sort of breathed a sigh of relief with that one in particular.
The feedback that we received from the trustees was that staying on off-site hotels diminished their ability to participate in the events. Whether because it's not just sitting in a session; it's also getting to know your peer board members across this. If it's a CalPERS event across the state, as an example, and so not being able to have those events in the late afternoons was to the detriment of the experience. And
Absolutely.
so I think the governance committee agreed, and also those who were here when the policy was originally crafted, not the intent.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the list of all of the pre-approved conferences has remained the same, so there have not been any substantial changes that most of them.
We did take one off of the list. If you give me a second, I can highlight it. And it's not that it's not valuable, it's that it's really expensive, and that if we're gonna do that, we should budget for it. So we removed the Wharton School of Business, University of Pennsylvania investment program. I've heard that it's a tremendous program, but it's also very expensive, and so it becomes hard to budget for that as a possibility, as a pre-approved. And so if there were a board member or board members that would like to attend that, I would ask that come to the full board for approval, and that we do it with budget considerations in place where, hey, I want to do this next year. Okay, let me get it into the budget for next year. And then we added Pension Bridge, the annual, as a pre-approved conference, which is, we regularly have many of our investment committee members attend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that seems to make a lot of sense. I mean, Wharton is just one education
Right.
facility. Stanford, Harvard, universities all across the country have, so there's no real rationale for why Wharton was called out as a pre-approved conference.
I think it's relatively common among pension funds that's a program that trustees
That
attend.
particular one?
Yeah.
Okay. But these are the ones we commonly attend, so that does streamline it. I do note that it seems like there's a lot more involvement of the chair and potentially vice chair in approving various exception
So it's,
criteria.
It's still the approval of the CEO, but in coordination with the chair. You know, from a governance perspective, having, having me approve one of my many bosses' exceptions seemed a little, hard. And so doing that in coordination with the chair, who is, the leader of the board, we thought that that was just a little bit better governance. So it's, be it a notification to the chair before I give that approval or denial.
And the other thing I'd like to understand is trustees are responsible for expenses if they cancel.
Correct.
In the case that the expenses cannot be recouped. And clarify for me, what is the situation if a trustee has, let's say a personal health issue or some other emergency that requires them to cancel on a conference attendee?
I believe it requires the board to take an action, kind of similar to the excused absence,
Okay.
for good cause.
Okay, so there is an exception there, but it
Right.
needs to go to the board
Correct.
for approval. Okay, all right, so we have it out there. Any other questions or comments on the travel policy? I know this is a subject that sometimes causes some frustration for travelers.
And
Vice Chair.
I may have missed this, so the governance committee can correct me if it's not here, but where's the expectation of post-travel for content reports? For what we learned at a conference?
I believe it's in
don't know
there.
if I noticed it here, but where does that kind of live?
It is in there.
Is it?
I thought it was in here too.
I did see it somewhere, it's a long document.
And was that any major discussion amongst the governance committee?
It was not.
I don't think there was many changes there, if any, maybe some grammatical.
Is there something about that you think should be included
No,
or
I just
deleted?
I
You just want to make sure
I
it's
may
there?
have just missed it. I looked through the document a couple of times and I could have just missed the line where it says what's expected.
Yeah,
but
here
it
we
was-
go.
I don't see it.
Item, under reimbursements, item C, report preparation. No, that's for the reimbursement
That's right.
report, okay. Scratch that comments.
Regardless, I think it's a topic for maybe governance committee to
Mhm.
continue thinking about what is expected in terms of what we learned at a conference and what we can bring back to the other board members beyond, or at least in consideration of the few lines shown on the PDF we fill out.
I actually create a Word
Yeah,
document.
you can do an
and-
attachment, but-
And put a little bit more detail in.
Yeah, but maybe there's some guidance to be
Yeah.
added. I don't know if it would
Could
go in
be.
this document or something for a later date, doesn't necessarily need to be addressed right now.
I'll take a note, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's potentially in a different document, because I'm not seeing it here, but I
Yeah.
do recall seeing that at some
Yeah,
point,
I do
so.
remember reading it somewhere.
Thank you. It makes three of us.
Good idea.
But it's not, I can't find it.
Yeah, I couldn't find it in my quick review here. Okay, obviously, there is a requirement that we fill out at least a brief review of what we learned at the conferences. So there was some official note of that, and that's part of the public record. And we include them in the packages when we review these under consent calendar. So, any other questions or comments? If not, would anyone like to formulate a motion to accept the revised travel policy?
I so move.
We have a motion from trustee Abbott. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second from trustee Nakagawa. Any further comment from trustees before we vote? Any public comment on this agenda item? There is no comment. So we can vote by roll call. Trustee Nakagawa,
Aye.
trustee Chandra,
Aye.
vice chair Faulkner,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
trustee Chi,
Aye.
trustee Linder,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Okay, we can continue to travel. So with that, we are ready for our closed session item. And let us move to the closed session room. from closed session.
Recording in progress.
Now at long last, we have consent calendar. Do we have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
No reportable items.
There was no, thank you, no reportable items out of closed session. Consent calendar. Did anyone like to pull anything from consent calendar? Or if not, I will entertain a motion to accept consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Thank you. That's a motion from trustee Chandra. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from trustee Nakagawa. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, we can have a roll call vote. Trust.
Sorry, I want to make a public comment, but only when you're doing that for the public, not for the agenda.
Okay, this, we're just, do you have a,
Doing the agenda, sorry.
I think I recognize the voice. So you can comment on, we've already had generalized public comment, but you can comment on agenda items. Hopefully that,
Okay, but at that time, or?
at the time as we go through the agenda. Hopefully that suits your purpose. Okay, so we're ready to vote on the consent calendar. Trustee Linder,
Aye.
trustee Chi,
Aye.
trustee Abbott,
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner,
Aye.
trustee Nakagawa,
Aye.
trustee Chandra.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. We will now move to agenda item 2, death and survivorship. Have a moment of silence for those who have served the city and who have passed. Thank you. Now we're on to agenda item 3A, which is an oral update from our CIO, Mr. Polani.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. We don't have any agenda items for this month. We will have some next month. But I do have performance estimates as of Tuesday. So the day we had a big drawdown in the market. So fiscal year to date, the pension plan is up 7.8%, including the drawdown. And healthcare trust was up 9.46%. And obviously we've clawed back some now that we're not invading Greenland. But anyway, despite that, I mean, these are good numbers at the half-year mark. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for our CIO? I will simply recognize that once again, there's been a major move on the day that you choose to report our monthly motions. So
Yes.
I am going to start playing the options on this. 7.8%, that's not too shabby for including the drawdown.
I do have a question. So I saw headlines about investors pulling out of private credit, and I'm wondering if you're seeing anything that might be of concern with our investments.
We have just the right person for that to give you specifics.
Thank you for the question. So I think the headlines that you're referencing in the Wall Street Journal was regarding retail-oriented funds
Yes.
where high net worth individuals and others that have invested in these evergreen funds that do have redemption options similar to other vehicles that exist for investing in real estate, private equity. They do have limited redemption options, and some of those funds are seeing redemptions. However, in terms of totality of dollars that are being redeemed, it's very small relative to the trillions of dollars invested in private credit. And the funds that we invest in typically don't have any redemption options. So it's really at the discretion of the manager when they receive their repayments, they return the capital back to us, or if they receive interest, they return the capital back to us. There's no pressures on those managers or funds to make irrational decisions. So from our perspective, for our portfolio, for private credit, not seeing any cracks or issues from that perspective.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from trustees? Any public comment or questions from any public commenter? No. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Polani. On to new business 5A, oral update from Mr. Flynn.
Good morning. Running the risk of offending the Curb Your Enthusiasm fans, I want to wish all of you and our members and our staff a happy and healthy new year. Today, I'm told today is the last day that I can say Happy New Year. Right before the holidays, the city manager enacted cost control measures to bridge both a budget gap in fiscal year 26 as well as an expected gap in fiscal year 27, which is anticipated to be in the ballpark of $55 to $65 million to the general fund. Some of the most notable impacts to ORS are a focus on reduced personnel spending. So there was a hiring freeze implemented in 12/22 to help reduce costs and prepare for potential fiscal year 27 budget reduction proposals. Reduction on overtime to only critical operations, as well as temp staffing limited to critical operations. Discretionary employee travel that also requires overnight stay and airfare should be heavily scrutinized. Also, ABA 339, public agency contracting notice requirements became effective on January 1st. So working with Reed Smith, and we now agree with the city manager's office and the city attorney's office that the updated statutes apply to ORS. This means that there will be a minimum 45-day waiting period for applicable contract procurements, renewal of existing contracts, and extension of existing contracts where union work is implicated. I will begin working with OER, Office of Employee Relations, to determine how applicable contracts are determined and get us tied into that process.
I don't really understand what that means to
Sure.
us.
So we have a number of contracts that we have. I'll give an example. We will likely be bringing one of our communication consultant contracts to the board next month. Once the board approves, we would then be able to negotiate with the vendor. This now requires, or may require, that we go through OER, and OER will notify the unions that there's a potential contract extension that will allow the unions to comment on. You know, I think this, the intent of this was around transparency, and I think also transparency for the unions, transparency for the public on, you know, are we outsourcing, are we privatizing union work and allowing them to comment on it.
I see.
I don't believe there are teeth in there. I think comment is to the level that they can go. But what I would say is when a procurement process is already at a minimum taking 4 months, and we add 45 days to it, right? Now we're looking at 6 months to 9 months, which we've started to look at internally. Okay, we got a contract that's coming up 12 months from now. We really have to seriously start to take a look at. Mm-hmm. I would also say where we have the ability, looking at the shorter term contracts, it makes less sense to do a 1 year or 2 year contract. We really need to start to look at longer term contracts, because the overhead of doing even a renewal or an extension still has to go through this process. So, when I think it's and it's not every contract. So, if we're buying software, that's not necessary. I would think that's not necessarily have an implication on union work. But I used a communications contract as an example because we use a communication consultant because we have a fraction of a person's capacity versus having a full-time communications person. That may or may not be right, but so that's an area where we may get some comments on.
If we're looking at the services that our investment teams provide, and I'm assuming that's not unionized work.
Again, it depends on what it is, but it would still need to go through the process, right? It's a standard procurement process. I need to work out with OER to determine who is actually making those determinations. Is that a director's determination whether or not it needs to go through the process? Is it somebody in OER that's determining it? And start to work with them to understand where those lines are drawn.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot I was in my update. Staffing update, working with city finance and city manager's office, I was able to obtain exceptions for our critical benefit vacancies to the hiring freeze. There has been a small delay in the process while we requested those exceptions, but we are full steam ahead in working on our 4 ORS vacancies. Just as a quick reminder, we have 3 vacancies at the pension analyst level, and we have an approved overstrength program manager position that that closed on January 5th, and we hope to have it filled by March. For our Deputy Chief Investment Officer position, we've received approval from the Mayor's Office to create an overstrength DCIO position. Currently working with Prabhu on a plan to fill this position. Once finalized, I will need to request an exemption from the hiring freeze for that as well. We are planning to request a permanent DCIO position in fiscal year 2027 budget, along with the deletion of one of our senior investment officers.
And is there an approved salary range for the deputy CIO position? Or
So the classification that was approved by City Council has a salary range. Speaking of salary ranges, in regards to our investment compensation study, I've received the raw data from the study and met with Gallagher to answer some of their questions. I expect the final draft. In fact, I now have the final draft of their report. I haven't read it yet, but the plan is to meet with them on Friday to address their last sets of questions. And we are in the process of scheduling a JPC meeting in February to have Gallagher present their report and recommendations to the JPC. Amanda, our new program manager, has been working with accounting on transitioning of contract monitoring. Amanda has met with contract owners throughout the operation and investments. We have completed our contracting with Milliman, our actuarial auditor. That's finally through the administrative process. And Baker Tilly, our new internal audit service provider, that contract has been signed, but is still going through the administrative process of obtaining required documents and getting it administratively posted. That said, our internal kickoff with Baker Tilly was last week, and they have started their risk assessment. To date, this has included requests for related documentation and scheduling interviews with the executive team. Once the committee assignments are complete, we will coordinate with coordinate a kickoff meeting with the audit committee chairs and schedule some interviews. Our independent medical examiner contracts are for MMRO. The contract was signed and onboarding is underway. With ExamWorks, which is our existing contract, we had some delays with the vendor, but we're now reaching an agreement with ExamWorks and are working through the final set of risk approvals to then sign the contract. The delays had caused a break in service, requiring us to reschedule a few medical appointments. On strategic planning front, before the holidays, we released surveys to our external stakeholders. The response rate was not what we had hoped, so we extended the deadline in the hopes of some additional responses. That said, the responses received were very good and insightful. We plan to bring summary report to the boards in February. On the governance side, Amanda's working with Aon in planning to bring a work plan to the governance committee in March. To establish a policy governance framework for managing and updating our OS policies over the next 2 to 3 years. Again, moving from a 5-year review cycle to a 3-year review cycle. Couple other small notes. January newsletter was distributed last week. We are currently exploring moving to digital distribution of monthly retiree pay stub advices. ORS began defaulting new retirees to digital advice in 2020, and they have the option to receive paper if they so chose. Currently, we send about 5,300 pay stubs or advices out per month. Just the postage alone is about $3,000 per month or $36,000 per year, not including supplies and staff time. We're working very closely with Central IT in regards to new compliance requirements for ADA Title II WCAG 2.1 AA. Everybody get that? So it's an ADA, Americans Disability Act requirement around digital materials. So some updated or more stringent requirements around accessibility of our online digital content. So we're working with our website vendors in order to make the structure of our online presence compliant, but the heavier lift is really making the content compliant, because this requires us to review any quote-unquote active document or active material on the website. And so we're also going through an effort to determine what can be considered archived versus what would be considered active, to help limit the exposure that we have around this new requirement. We'll also be reaching out to all of our vendors who supply content that would be posted on our website, which would also include as attachments to the board, so that they know that they are now going to be required to provide materials in compliance with this ADA requirement. This requirement goes into effect April of 2026. ORS is closed on February 16th and 17th for President's Day and Lunar New Year. And with that, I will take any comments.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from trustees? Any questions or comments on this agenda item from the public? There is a comment.
Chair Horowitz, we have Julie Jennings. Ms. Jennings, you have 2 minutes when your time is up. A timer will.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Member of Public Jennings, please speak.
Hi there, good to see everybody. So just a couple things. I got the January newsletter. I thought it was great. Thank you so much. And I was very pleased, well, or surprised in a way, to see my favorite vice chair stepping down, but I understand Matthew will be taking over that role. So I know Matthew will do a great job. And I just want to give a shout out to Anurag for being such a integral part of the board, for supporting the board for 10 years, and for his invaluable investment experience, as well as his high level of integrity. So I know he'll still continue to provide all that. And Chair Spencer, thank you so much for continuing to lead the board. I know you guys are doing a great job. In addition, on the union thing for the procurement, my knowledge on this, which is only about, I guess, a year old, is that a lot of that is if you're outsourcing something, if you're planning to outsource benefits, then you would go through a whole procurement process and bring the union in to talk about that. It's like a budget proposal that you go through. So it seems to me like that's more procurement. On the budget, I've heard about the current situation. I would just reiterate that the city is always very conservative. Jim Shannon does a great job as budget director. I think when you get to the annual report, which will be published in October, you might be surprised to see it might not be as dire as you're currently looking at. They just tend to overshoot it a bit. And with that, I will hand it back. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Member of Public Jennings. It is so nice to hear some positive comments. So I speak on behalf of all the trustees in thanking you for your continued interest, and hopefully we will continue to safeguard your retirement pension. Any other comments? Any other public comment? There is no other public comment, so we will move to the next agenda item, which is oral update from our City Council liaison, which is Vice Mayor Foley.
Great, thank you. First, just want to report, many of you heard that we had a police sergeant shot last night, Gerardo Silva. He is in stable condition, and that's better news than we heard last night, that he that it was serious. So he's in stable condition. There's actually a press conference today at 2:30. So my thoughts and prayers truly go to him and his family and all of the officers for putting their lives on the line every day. This is the beginning of my last year as a city council member, so next year you'll have someone else sitting here. Have no idea who will that be. That will be the pleasure of the mayor to appoint that. You've already heard that the budget situation is not good. They are projecting a deficit of 55 to 65 million as a result of decrease in sales tax, a decrease in property taxes, mostly resulting from commercial properties not selling. It doesn't really have much to do with residential properties, but it does have to do with commercial properties and property values dropping in the commercial realm. So the other area that is a reduction in income is utility taxes. We generate, if you look at your property tax bill, you can see utility taxes paid, and they're going down as far as what the city is collecting. As a result, the city manager in December put out a notice to her staff regarding a hiring freeze and a freeze on budgets. She's asking all of her senior staff and department heads to take a look at their budgets and look at ways that they can possibly reduce their budgets. The goal is to retain staff. The goal is not to lay off any staff. But it is a difficult situation. Council offices will be likely taking a reduction in their budgets as well, and the mayor's office, so it will be affecting all of us, and obviously we want to protect our core services and protect our staffing as much as possible. That being said, there is a study session in February that will be an opportunity for council to weigh in with the mayor as to things that are of concern to them as what they would like to see prioritized in the budget. This is, we no longer really do a priority setting session. This is the opportunity for council to offer their opinions about what is important in the budget to them and their community. That's February 7th, I think, but I could be wrong about that date. And then in the middle of March, the mayor comes out with his March message, which will include the budget items. Then in May, the city manager comes out with the budget, actually attaches dollars to the high-level budget from the mayor, and then we actually we vote on the budget in June. So we're still a long way, but the process is starting in full force, and with a reduction, it makes it very difficult to make decisions that are going to affect us all, that we want to make sure that we protect our core services. This is also the end of all of our bargaining units contract period, except for police and fire. So we are beginning the negotiation stages with all of our bargaining units. So that affects all of our Federated employees. Have no idea on where we are with those, but they've begun discussions, and we'll see where they go from here. But that's pretty much it. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
What are the core services? What does the city consider their core services?
Police, fire are predominantly our core services. Blight, trash pickup, a lot of the things that you see at the high level. We do a lot of surveying, and in fact, at the council meeting on Tuesday, there will be an annual survey presented by the auditor that shows what is high level and important to our community. So that's, police and fire always rates really high in what our core services are. Addressing homelessness rates high too. Blight rates high, and then making sure that we can protect businesses or keep businesses open, thereby helping all of our employees. So it's not, there are surveys involved. It's not just city council saying, okay, I ran for office on this platform. It's really based on what our community says.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you're interested, you can Zoom, you can watch the meeting on Tuesday. It is the first item on the agenda, so we'll probably get to it around 2:15 15 or so.
Okay,
And it's usually a good report, but it is available too.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from trustees?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Thank you for that recap. For the commercial real estate transactions, you were mentioning that was the largest factor in the budget being short, right? Or the revenue generated from commercial real estate transactions.
Well, no, actually, when I say that property taxes are down, people always say, well, how can that be? Because residential prices are stable and increasing. The property taxes being down, the collection of that is a result of the value of commercial properties being, dropping in value. So you probably read in the paper foreclosures of commercial properties all the time. That affects other commercial properties and reduces the taxes that are collected.
Okay.
So that's just one source. It's sales tax as well. Those are the two drivers, and then utility tax.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll just add, I'm constantly reading in the paper of commercial property changing hands at a value lower than a previous sale. So
Yeah.
prices are being marked down in a lot of commercial real estate.
Yeah,
That
not
affects the
residential,
budget.
but commercial, definitely.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from trustees? Any public comment or question on this item? There is none. So thank you, Vice Mayor Foley, and we'll move to the next agenda item. And the next agenda item is discussion and action on standing committee assignments. And as we previously discussed the new board operating policy, there is clearly an interest in some degree of rotation amongst the committee assignments. And at the same time, we do want to maintain a certain level of continuity, and so that the work can be done and knowledge carries forward from year to year. As you all know, I've asked each of the trustees to inform me of what assignment they would most prefer and which assignment they would most wish to avoid. And in that regard, I did receive input from every trustee. And I want to give a shout out to Trustee Linder, who was the only trustee who basically said, "Coach, play me where you need me." So, with that, I have a proposal for the new committee assignments, and obviously we can discuss it. The most oversubscribed committee is the IC. And when I joined the board, I also wanted to be on the IC very much. I am on the IC. It's not as exciting as I thought it might be when I first aspired to be there. But nevertheless, that is the desire of more trustees than our seats on the IC. So I am proposing that Trustee Chandra continue as chair, that Trustee Faulkner continue to serve on the IC, and that Trustee Abbott take my place on the IC. There may be a price to pay for that later on.
Maybe.
We'll find out in a few short minutes. On the audit committee, not a popular committee. I would like to ask Trustee Linder if you will assume the chair of that committee. And I would like to ask our new trustee, Trustee Chi, if he will join me on the audit committee.
Sure.
Governance committee, would like to ask Trustee Abbott to continue as chair of the governance committee, Trustee Nakagawa to continue on the governance committee, and ask that our Trustee Chi join the governance committee.
Yep.
The disability committee, I'd like to ask Vice Chair Faulkner to now chair that committee. He's been serving on it. And that Trustees Linder and Nakagawa continue to serve on disability. We do require an alternate on this committee. This is the one member committee. Remind me, does the alternate come to every meeting or only when there's an absence of one or the other?
Only when there's an absence and we need to have a meeting. So,
Okay.
Often we manage the disability committee meetings based on demand, and whether or not any of the cases have any financial hardships involved. And if there were a case where there were not a quorum of the main committee and there was a financial hardship, we might ask an alternate to attend.
Okay. can the committee operate with 2 members present?
Yes.
It can, so it's only when you get down to 1 that the alternate steps forward. So in that case, I would like to ask trustee Abbott to be the alternate on the Disability Committee. And then finally, JPC, 2 of the committee assignments are stipulated in our procedures, and they would be the chair of the IC, which would be trustee Chandra, the board chair, myself, and I would like trustee Linder to continue to operate on the JPC. So that is my proposed assignments, rendered after great consideration and input. So does anyone have any comments, questions, or rejections?
Chair Horowitz, I had a point of clarification. On
Please.
the audit committee, who did you want to serve on that committee moving forward?
That would be Chair Linder, trustee Chi, and myself.
Okay, so you would like to take trustee Abbott off of that committee?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Hopefully over
Looks
time.
good, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, trustee Linder. Again, it would be, of course, we don't know who will be the board chair next year or succeeding years. I would hope that various people who aspire to be on the IC committee will have their chance to rotate into that committee. And I believe we will have openings in the future that will make that possible. So, if there are no further questions, we can entertain a motion to accept the new committee assignments.
I so move.
We have a motion from trustee Abbott, a second.
I second.
Second from trustee Nakagawa. Is there any further trustee discussion? Any public comment on the assignments? There is none, so we can vote. Let's take trustee Linda first.
Aye.
Trustee Chi.
Aye.
Trustee Abbott.
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner.
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa.
Aye.
Trustee Chandra.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Committees are assigned for the year. On to item 5D, discussion and action on the final OPEB valuation for 2025.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Let me just share my screen.
Should we take a brief break here at 10, before we get into this, at the 10 o'clock hour as we approach?
Sure.
I support
Okay.
that motion.
Okay, as he's walking out the room. All right, so we're going to take a 5-minute break and resume afterwards, if you will. Thank you. Andrew, thank you. We're at item 5D with discussion action on final OPEB valuation. I believe our actuaries are here.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members.
Good morning.
I apologize for not being there in person today, but Jackie is. And so I will make a few introductory remarks, and then Jackie will take you through the bulk of our presentation. So if we go to the next slide, this is the last of our regularly scheduled actuarial calendar of events. Today we are presenting the final OPEB valuation results. And then the next agenda item is our 5-year city contribution projections. Now, as we get into the OPEB valuation, you can go to slide 4. There's a couple differences to keep in mind from the pension plan. One is that the OPEB liabilities are much smaller than the pension liabilities. They are funded separately in the 115 trust, so the assets are separate. And the plan is mostly closed. There are benefits for ongoing members in the event of a catastrophic disability, but for the most part, it is Tier 1 members who did not elect to join the VEBA who are eligible for full benefits. So the liabilities will be declining in the near future. The other key difference is that the member contributions are fixed at 7.5% of pay. They are not affected by anything in the valuation. That's just set in the municipal code. And so our role here is we set the city contributions in the valuation. And so this valuation is setting the city contributions for the fiscal year end 2027. So with that, I'll turn it to Jackie to go through the valuation results.
So the last meeting we presented the preliminary results. These are final. There actually are no changes between that, so some of these slides are a little bit of repeat, but feel free to stop us if you have any questions along the way. The first summary slide we have here, we have some graphs on the left. We have the liabilities and the assets. The bars represent the liabilities of the plan. The green line is the assets. The liabilities did increase a little bit more than the assets, so that funding ratio did decrease slightly. We'll get a little bit more into that in some future slides. And then the graph on the right, that shows your contributions. Your member contributions, those are a little stable, does come down a little bit with the declining active population. And then you have the gold bar. That's the city's explicit subsidy. That's the contribution amount that they'll make. You can see there's that increase there, and there's a few reasons for that. We'll see payroll increase, but then also some of the losses on the liabilities. And you can see it's a little higher than the projected 2024 valuation, but we'll focus on that a little bit more coming up. Just switching back to the actual membership of the plan, as Bill mentioned, it's close to the active population, so all new actives are going into that catastrophic disability portion. So if we're looking at the graph on the right here, you can see that the total population is increasing over time, but the population within the plan that's getting full benefits, that's decreasing. So if I were to get rid of just this catastrophic part here, you can see that the total number in the plan with full benefits is decreasing. And that blue bar at the bottom, that's the actives that are eligible for full benefits. So you can see it's an expected trend. It's going to continue until that blue bar kind of disappears. So the next slide. This is just the distribution of the population in the plan. So looking on the left, that's for your actives. So we're looking at the distribution for the 2025 valuation. Again, the teal bar, that's the people that are only eligible for catastrophic disability, and the blue bar, that's for everyone that's eligible, all the actives that are eligible for a full benefit in the future. So you can see, generally, you're going to see this blue bar shifting down and a little bit shifting towards the right as that population grows and they retire. So that's looking at 2025, but if I were to look at just 2017 and then shifting through each year, you can see kind of the total distribution is pretty similar, but if we were to get rid of that, that catastrophic part only, and then if you jump through it, you can see how it's really decreasing and shifting to the right a little bit. And into the graph on the right, that's your retiree count distribution. That's actually pretty stable. So these are the people that are currently retired, but as that active population shifts in there, you see it's becoming more of an aging group. You kind of look at the shift there. So shifting back from membership back to the liabilities of the plan, we're looking at the unfunded actuarial liability here. With the last valuation was $230 million. It's now about $261 million. This just shows like the changes in year, and there are a couple of things. So your investments did decrease it. You had good investment returns. It decreased it by over 21 million. And shifting the discount rate from 6% to 6.25% also decreased it by 23 million. The biggest loss on the liability side was those premium changes. Premiums for 2026 came in much higher than were expected from the last valuation. That was the big driver in the liabilities, increasing more than expected. I know we did have a question at the last meeting about why that was. We did consult with our health consultants at Chiron, and there were a bunch of different things, you know, uncertainty in the market. But one of the key drivers is for the Medicare eligible portion. The CMS did shift to a new risk model for that, which kind of shifted it. So there were a couple of other factors in there, but there was a trend across the board of premiums increasing. It wasn't unique to the plans that the health insurance insurers that you use. So just looking historically, so what we just looked at was the changes just in the last year, but now if we're looking at a 10-year history, these are just the different components of how the UAL changed over time. You can see, so anything above 0, that's increase in the UAL. Everything below it is decrease in it. That's kind of the numbers we always like to see. And you can see that blue line is the net change in it. So you can see it really is oscillating around that 0 axis. But there are a couple of numbers, a couple of things that stand out on this one. Is you can see your investment returns. They're a key driver. They're very volatile each year as it moves with the markets. And then that lighter gray part, that's your premiums. So it's also something you don't really have control over, but you can see some years premiums are lower than expected. You get that decrease in the UAL. Sometimes, like last year, it's a lot higher. And then another one that jumps out is the purple bar, which is assumption changes. So that comes with any like mortality changes that are made or any discount rate changes that happen for the plan. So this breaks it out by year, but if you combine them all, the 10 years, so even though you saw those investment gains and losses were changing a lot each year and they were quite big bars, you can see if you look at it in total, they really did like zero each other out. And so the key ones here was over the last 10 years, your assumption changes definitely increased the UAL, and that even though you had a big increase in the premiums were added to it in the last year, over the last 10 years, it's actually decreased it quite a bit. And then that red part, that's the contributions. That means you're paying down your UAL, so that's also a big driver in getting that UAL down. So looking here, we're looking at the projected benefit payments. So you have your full benefits, people that are eligible for full benefits, those are the green bars. And then the little teal bar at the top, those are your catastrophic disabilities. So once again, the full benefits, it's a closed plan, but those benefit payments are expected to increase over the next 17 years as the current actives that are eligible for it retire. But then once you get to that point, then you'll see it decreasing over time. But it's key that there's projected benefit payments for this plan for a very long time. You know, you can see it going past the period that's shown here. And then as far as the catastrophic disabilities, it's a very small portion. You don't have anyone that's getting those payments yet. And just a reminder that the payments do stop if someone were to get it. It stops when they turn 65. So that's why that bar at the top there is just very, very small. So looking at the projected assets and liabilities, we've got 5 years of history. So the light gray part, that's actual historical. And then the dark gray part in the graph, those are projected numbers. So the bars are the liabilities and the assets are the green line. The liabilities are expected to increase over the next few years and expected to peak in about 2033, at which time you'll see them start to decrease. Assets too are growing at a faster rate than the liabilities, so you are projected to pay off, and as the UAL, especially the 2017 amortization base, expected to get paid off by 2038. So, well, once that gets paid off in 2038, you're going to see that huge decrease and get to full funding of the plan. So looking at the amortization schedule to pay off the unfunded actuarial liabilities, so just a reminder for your plan, you have a 20-year layered amortization with a 3-year phase in and phase out. So right now, just showing the new base that was created for 2025. So you have that loss. So it's adding. So it's a positive UAL payment, and you can see you start off by having these first 2 years where you phase it in, and then on the 3rd year you fully phase it in, and that's when you have your 20 years of level payments for this particular base, and then it tapers off as a 3-year phase out. You tapers off in the last two years of that. So this just to illustrate how the phase in and phase out works. But if we were to add all the bases in there, so you've got all of these that kind of zero each other out. This 2017 base, this large base, you can see how it gets paid off in 2038, and that's why it disappears over there, and then each base after that has one more. So your net payments right now, you've got this positive number here, but then in 2038, it's really going to drop off and decrease significantly when that 2017 base is paid off. So looking at the projected contributions now, again, to the left, those are numbers that were, actually were paid and actual contributions, and then the colored bars, that's what's expected in the future. The purple bars at the bottom, those are the member contributions, and those are expected to decrease, you know, as the actives that are eligible for full benefits retire, so that's expected to decline over time. And then the city pays the difference between the total actuarially determined contribution amount and the member contributions. So that total, the top of the bar here, you're going to see it's going to increase for a couple of years, and that's as you phase in that new base, amortization base, and then the total contribution, total ADC is expected to decline, and then you see that huge drop in 2039 after that 2017 base is paid off. But what's key is because you have that declining active member population, even though the total contribution is decreasing, the city's contribution is going to increase because they've got to cover that extra portion, and then you see that significant drop in the future. And one thing else in this graph, we've got the benefit payments. That's that light green part in the background there. You can see that the benefit payments are expected to increase significantly, which is going to cause a growing net negative cash flow for the plan. So it's something in the future that we'll need to discuss about managing the liquidity of the plan to help pay for those benefit payments. So with that, that's actually all the key information. Are there any questions on the results?
Thank you. Are there any questions from trustees? So our action item is simply to accept the report. We'll entertain a motion to accept the report as presented.
I will make such a motion.
Thank you. That's from trustee Chandra.
I'll second it.
We have a second from trustee Abbott. Any further questions or discussion from trustees?
I just want to say that's really good work, and it's encouraging to see, even though it's in the future somewhat, to see the significant declines, that we're making progress.
There is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's very reassuring. Any public comment before we vote? There is no comment. So we will vote by roll call. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So the report is accepted. Thank you. And I believe you will continue then to present on the five-year pension OPEB contribution projections, which is our item 5E.
Yes, it's just it's a letter that we provide every year. It's to help the city with their budgeting purposes. So it's got the 5-year projected contributions in it for both the pension plan and the OPEB plan. So.
Okay, so they're in line with the final valuations that we've just received and received last session.
Absolutely.
Any questions from trustees on the projections? If not, we can formulate a proposal to, a motion to accept?
It's not an action.
No, it's not an
Just a
action?
discussion.
Then we move right to the next item. Although I suppose I still need to ask if there's public question or comment on this agenda item. And there is none. Thank you. This is interesting. Presentation on relevant changes to the Brown Act. And I see our councils are moving to the fore.
Good morning, trustees. We're here today to provide a brief update on the Brown Act, both to provide a refresher as well as to update the board on legislative changes that have occurred to the Brown Act effective 2026. Today, so as the board may have known, that there was a previous bill named AB 2449, which had certain teleconferencing rules available to the board within the Brown Act. That act has since sunsetted, and there is now a new legislative bill that has become effective as of January 1st, 2026. That is SB 707. That has its own requirements, both for the conduct of the board meeting as well as certain teleconferencing rules, which will sound very familiar because a lot of what was sunsetted in AB 2449 has now been adopted within SB 707 with certain modifications. So in today's presentation, we are going to be focusing on the following. One of them are the new teleconferencing rules. Number 2, the use of social media and how does that interact with the Brown Act, as well as meeting decorum. Next slide, please.
As an overview of today's presentation, we were going to cover the basics of the Brown Act, followed by what SB 707 changes and the practical steps for compliance with SB 707. And then we will end today's presentation with key takeaways and time for questions and answers.
Next slide, please. So before we go into SB 707 and what changed, we thought we would start with the Brown Act as just kind of a baseline because we do also have a new member here. So we thought that, or trustee, that we would provide some initial training on the Brown Act as well as a refresher. And so the Brown Act is California's open meetings laws that applies to local and public agencies such as this board. The purpose of the Brown Act is transparency as well as public access to the board's conduct of business. And so some key markers of the Brown Act are, one, that the meetings have to be publicly noticed within 72 hours of the meeting, and that a concise summary of what the board's business will be conducted, be publicly agendized within that 72 hours and posted with our agenda to put the public on sufficient notice of what sort of items will be coming before the board for discussion and action. And number 3, that the location for the public meeting would be open and accessible to the public, and any member of the public may be heard at the meeting.
I have a question.
Yes.
I thought we had a week, that we had to post the agendas like a week before. It's just 72 hours?
So there's 2 rules regarding the board's conduct for open and public meetings. There's the state level Brown Act, which sets the floor, and then the city has their own city sunshine ordinance, which is above that and requires a week in advance posting. And so when we waive sunshine, essentially what we're doing is saying that we have complied with the Brown Act, so we're waiving sunshine because the state law preempts the city's law in the instance where there's a posting deadline.
Thank you.
And so going back to the agendas, as you know, we are strictly bound to what's discussion and action as agendized. So there's a lot of thought that goes into the agendas before they come before this board. The chair, the CEO, the vice chair, along with council, all discuss what will be agendized for each public meeting. Now, there are some limited exceptions for when the board can take action outside the 72-hour window set by state law. And so they are as follows. One of them is that there was a need to act immediately. That need for the board to act immediately arose after the 72 hours has occurred, and that the board at the next public meeting votes by 2/3 majority to add that item to the board agenda. And that's specifically authorized by certain provisions of the Brown Act. That procedural mechanism is there to allow for such exception. Another way to go about it, also authorized under the Brown Act, is to call a special meeting. A special meeting would just be to address, would be that you would have to post the agenda 24 hours in advance and then meet and convene on an item that requires immediate attention by the board as well. And so those are the 2 avenues that the board may use if an item does come out within the before or after, after the 72-hour window that requires the board to take action. So those are specifically authorized as exceptions in the Brown Act. Other than that, the board should place any item that does not require immediate attention on a future agenda. Next slide, please.
As you all know, the Brown Act also allows the board to discuss certain topics in closed session. Can we go to the next slide, please? Including personnel.
One more
Are
slide.
we on the next slide?
No, not yet.
Okay. So some of those items that you can discuss in closed session include personnel matters, conferences with legal counsel regarding existing or anticipated litigation, labor negotiations, real property negotiations, liability claims, and certain threats to public services or facilities. The slide that is supposed to be shown right now just outlines all that list that I just gave you all. And again, as you know, closed session items need to be listed on the agenda, and reportable actions must be disclosed afterward if required during open session.
What constitutes a reportable action at a closed session or not?
So the Brown Act is very specific about what items need to be reported out at a closed session. Sorry, I got the one finger from admin staff.
Split screen here.
But while they're resuming that, I can answer your question. So the Brown Act specifically specifies what items need to be reported out for closed session and under what circumstances. So for example, one of the specifically specified in the Brown Act is, should the board decide to appeal a trial court's judgment, that decision in closed session would be a reportable action at that same meeting. So the Brown Act does specify when to do it and how. For example, if it was another type of litigation issue, what the Brown Act generally provides is that you should not disclose or report out until the position of the boards and confidentiality of the board's decision would not prejudice the board's position in either negotiations and or in the litigation. And so it's not, or an investment transaction, that's another closed session item. So it's not until the consummation or the end of that transaction that the board then reports out, either in litigation, investments, or otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
Next slide, please.
Okay, so what is a meeting? A meeting is statutorily defined, and what it means is that a meeting is where it's a majority or a quorum of the board, and the board talks about business and regarding the board. And so this includes things, not just only a physical quorum of the board, but also what we call serial meetings, where trustee A talks to trustee B then talks to trustee C then talks to trustee D, and they eventually get to a quorum of the board. That is what we call serial meetings. That's not specifically prohibited within the Brown Act, but it violates the spirit of the law. Another example of a type of communication that may violate the Brown Act is what we call hubs and spokes, where, for example, let's take trustee Nakagawa as the hub, and then all the rest of the trustees are the spoke. He speaks with every single one of you separately, and then broadcasts out at a board meeting what his individual conversations were with each of you to formulate a decision point of a matter before the board. The reason for this prohibition is that it goes back to the transparency aspect of the Brown Act, is that all the board's deliberations and actions should be held in open and public session. It should not be behind closed doors. And so when you are doing consensus building outside the public arena, that would be in violation of the Brown Act. It's very different from a private context, private company context, for example, where you can coalition build outside the normal meeting, but for the purposes of a public agency, because the board acts as one, all deliberations and actions must be done in open and public session. And with that, I will turn it back over to Miranda.
Next slide, please. So Maytac just went over what constitutes a meeting. Now let's talk about what is not considered a meeting. So not every gathering is a meeting. Attendance at conferences, for example, or social events is not a meeting if the trustees do not discuss board business at those events. Trustees also may use social media to answer questions from, provide information to, or solicit input from public members, members of the public on board matters, so long as the trustees do not discuss board business amongst themselves on those social media platforms. SB 707 extends this particular provision that I'm talking about regarding the social media allowance indefinitely. Previously, that provision was set to expire at the beginning of this year. Next slide.
And so let's drill in a little bit about social media, because I think that's a newer technology that was not envisioned, or if we were going to use original intent of the Brown Act drafters, it was around back then, but it has now been since added. So let me give an example. So say Trustee Chandra posts on LinkedIn about something of the IC's that's the IC's working on, and then say Trustee Abbott likes his comment on LinkedIn. How would that fall under the Brown Act?
You're asking us?
Yes. Yeah. I'm asking for audience participation.
I was told there was no math.
I think it's allowed.
It is allowed, but allowed with caution. So when you're liking something on LinkedIn, even though it's public, it is not at an agendized public board meeting. So you can be consensus building outside of the board meeting. So for example, although you have liked it and there's only 2 people engaged on that particular LinkedIn post, your fellow trustees would have seen it or could have seen it. And so that's another way it's consensus building, where you should use interactions or use your social media with caution for potential violations of Brown Act. Now, if Trustee Chandra, let's use a different hypothetical. If Trustee Chandra posts something on, sorry to pick on you, I'll pick someone else. Say Vice Chair Faulkner decides to post something about the board's business or wants to solicit information from the general public about their opinions on how ORS is operating. So if members of the public then respond to your post, that is information gathering and that is okay. So that's the kind of the differentiation between using social media with the public to get information versus using social media to signal or consensus build on a particular topic before the board. And so those methods and uses of social media have now been embodied within the Brown Act and trued up.
So if Trustee Faulkner posts something and I'm a board member and I like what he posts, even though it was to solicit information from the public, where does that, I mean, how do you decide what's the difference between soliciting information from the public and influencing the board?
So it would obviously be a case-by-case basis, and what we would recommend is that the board adopt a social media policy regarding when and how trustees may interact with each other and with the public on matters before the board and or its operations. The reason being is another, in addition to the Brown Act, there's another reason for our recommendation, which is that the board votes and acts as one. The board is one singular legal entity, and the trustees are individuals that make up that entity. So one trustee's opinion about something may be construed as the opinion of the overall board when it has not yet been vetted or approved. Yeah. So that's another consideration to think about in terms of use of social media in your communications regarding the board business.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it better just for us to avoid posting on social media with regard to things about the board?
I think use your judgment about certain things. If you say something like, I really like John Flynn, he's doing a great job.
That's fine.
Yeah.
In fact, that's encouraged.
Yeah. But if it's a decision point that requires discussion and action and deliberation, again, the Brown Act is focused on matters of business before the board requiring deliberation and action. And so if it's just an acolyte to John and how great he's doing and it's your personal opinion, that's certainly fine. But if it's something about that you believe will come before the board or subject to the board's discussion on a matter that the board needs to take action on, use your better judgment.
And there is a communication policy for board members that, I know we'll be reviewing as part of our governance framework. But it does state that the board has one spokesperson, and so, but it also requires that the board authorize that spokesperson to communicate. And, it doesn't specifically say social media, but, it is implied that unless you're speaking on your own personal behalf, which unfortunately would have to be stated, and even that still kind of becomes a little bit gray on I'm speaking on my personal behalf, but, I'm also a board member and on the IC and whatever the content might be.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any examples where this has resulted in litigation?
No, the Brown Act generally is not litigated for violations. What the Brown Act provides for a violation of the Brown Act is if an issue does come up and it's a violation, that you would void the transaction or void the action and bring it into compliance with the Brown Act.
And as with respect to social media posts and or likes or comments, has that resulted in any such action that you just described?
Well, to tell the truth, most trustees don't use social media.
Well, I'm not saying just us, I'm talking about broadly, let's say in the state of California.
Yeah, in the state of
I'm
California.
trying to understand if there are real life examples where this has come to the fore.
No, I think the advent of social media has only recently become more of an issue. And so to my knowledge, I've not heard of any sort of scandal, so to speak, about use of social media. However, most boards, for retirement boards at least, have a social media and communication policy in place. And again, that one trustee is not authorized to speak on behalf of the whole board unless specifically authorized to do so. And so most boards follow that. And probably wrap in, as a secondary corollary, thinking about things, I probably shouldn't post it in social media if I can't say it out loud in person.
Okay.
We will now turn, with that, to the next slide regarding SB 707's changes to the Brown Act. The governor signed SB 707 on October 3rd of last year, and the provisions applicable to the board took effect on January 1st. Next slide. Next slide again. So what has changed? SB 707 now modernizes the Brown Act in 4 key ways. 1, it expands and clarifies teleconferencing and remote participation rules. 2, it clarifies the chair's authority to address disruptions, including by remote participants. 3, it requires the agency to provide a copy of the Brown Act to each trustee. And 4, it makes the social media exception that we just discussed permanent with certain guardrails. We'll also note that because this board does not fall into the definition of eligible legislative body that's defined in SB 707, certain additional guardrails or teleconferencing flexibilities do not apply to the board. So with this, moving forward with this particular presentation, we rely on the standard Brown Act plus the specific remote participation pathways described next. Next slide.
So, as Mariah mentioned, we're going to be talking in the next few slides about the various types of teleconferencing avenues that are available to the board to participate remotely. And let's start first with the traditional Brown Act. Next slide, please. So this one you've heard me say a gazillion times at the start of our meetings, which is the traditional Brown Act teleconferencing rules. A couple key markers for it is 1, that the address needs to be posted on the 72 hours of the board meeting. The location from where you are teleconferencing from must be open to the public and ADA accessible, and a member of the public must be able to be heard from that location, and the agenda must be posted on the outside of that location. So essentially it's an extension of a public forum where you're teleconferencing from, as if you were here presently at this board meeting. One thing to note, and it may be common sense, but I've gotten this question in the past, is that your location from where you're teleconferencing from must be stationary. You cannot be in the car, for example, because you are then in transit and not open to the public and whatnot. So that's one thing to note. Another thing to note too with the teleconferencing rules under the traditional Brown Act is that there are no limits on how many times you can use it within a calendar year, which is different from the changes in SB 707, which Mariah will explain in further detail. Next slide, please. Oh, yes.
More of a random question to that note. Given that anyone could attend this meeting remote as a public member, what's the purpose of the open and accessible to someone that wants to come talk from my location if I happen to be remote?
So that's a legacy provision from the traditional Brown Act rules pre-COVID and remote appearances. A lot of the remote appearance rules that have been more recently added, both under the AB 2449 and now SB 707, are new relics of the law that started from the COVID era. And so previously, all teleconferencing locations had those requirements, and so those remain in the statute. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the legislative history. We touched on it briefly, and so I won't spend too much time on it. There was a bill called AB 2449. It had 2 exceptions for remote appearances in addition to the teleconferencing traditional rules. One of them was called just cause, and the other one was emergency circumstance. Just cause was statutorily defined for certain types of things. Emergency circumstance was related to a medical condition that you had to attend to and had certain procedural requirements. Either under both just cause and emergency circumstance, there still needs to be a physical quorum of the board, and that remains true both for all the teleconferencing rules, except for one, which I'll highlight later. And with that, I am going to switch back to Mariah. Next slide, please.
Just cause in SB 707 includes child care or caregiving needs, contagious illness, a need related to a physical or mental condition, official business travel, needs related to an immunocompromised family member, a physical or family medical emergency, and certain military obligations that place the trustee at least 50 miles outside of the agency's boundaries. As you'll note with this list, most of the items on this list are the same items that were a part of AB 2449 that sunset at the beginning of this year. So we're continuing on with those just cause exceptions and adding a few more, like the military service obligations. Next slide, please. When using just cause, the minutes need to identify the specific legal basis for a trustee's remote attendance. The trustee needs to participate by audio and video, like with AB 2449, and a quorum must be present physically in the single public meeting location listed on the agenda. Each trustee may use just cause no more than twice per calendar year, and a trustee's remote location is not posted and is not open to the public under this just cause exception. And the authority for just cause exceptions now sunsets January 1st of 2030. Next slide, please.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
One time I was sick and I was muting my audio because I didn't want to cough during the middle of other people's presentations. So I was still listening and I was turning it on when I had something to speak. Is that considered participating by audio as long as my video is always on? Or do I have to leave my audio on and cough whenever is happening?
So strict compliance would require you to leave it on and let us hear you cough. However, for the disruption of the board meeting, I mean, I think it's fine if you mute it and cough and then turn it back on. So
Okay.
what the purpose of that rule is to make sure that no one else is influencing you
Yeah.
at your location.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Now, a quick question. The limit of 2 virtual attendances, per calendar year, is that the total sum of all of our attendance in committees and the board, or is it separate by, per board, per committee that we're on?
That's for your board attendance. So you can't have more than 2 meetings that you try to appear via the just cause exception to the board at the board meeting.
Okay, so meaning it, like if I'm virtual for 2 committee meetings, that doesn't count towards the 2 total for the board?
Committee meetings are separate, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the previous slide says traditional Brown Act, no limit on how many uses of teleconferencing. So is that being changed to 2 now?
No, so that remains the same. So under the traditional Brown Act, there was never a limitation on how many times you can appear remotely. However, under the newer versions that have less stringent requirements, so for example, I think under Just Cause, you don't need to allow members of the public to be in a presence with you there, because obviously if you're sick with COVID, you don't want someone else to show up and be sick with COVID at that location. So there are varying differentiations between the two, but we wanted to highlight the ones that are most pertinent to the board, worth noting.
Okay.
Next slide, please.
So this one may be familiar to some of the trustees who have served on the board longer. So during COVID, we had a particular Brown Act exception that allowed the boards to meet remotely given when there was a state of emergency declared by a proclamation of the governor. Now, this has come back into the legislation, but it has come back with some modifications. So one of them is that the board can meet under the governor's proclaimed state of emergency, but also can declare its own state of emergency at a local level instead. So for example, say that San Jose had an earthquake and we were not able to get into our building, this board can take action to decide to meet remotely for our board business without needing the governor to proclaim such. The elements of it would require that the emergency be imminent and pose a danger to the in-person gathering or property of the individuals, and that once that finding has been made, the board must renew that finding every 45 days for that proclaimed state of emergency and ability to meet remotely to continue. There's no sunset date on this one. Next slide, please.
So the board itself, not the city, the board can declare a state of emergency for the board's business. if I'm understanding that correctly.
Not a state of emergency, but a local emergency.
A local emergency.
Yeah,
Right.
the state of emergency is limited to the governor.
Okay. How would we do that in the case of an emergency? Would we need to meet in person to first declare the local emergency, or I don't understand how we would affect this?
Well, the statute is silent on when the first initial discussion needs to be made, but in all practicalities, if the board were to make that finding at the beginning of their meeting, that after calling roll, that should be sufficient.
Okay, so we would meet in person, declare a local emergency, and then disperse to meet?
No, I was saying that the statute's not clear on that, and so we
Mhm.
would have to take a look at it and consider the circumstances.
Okay.
Next slide, please.
I also had a
Yes.
question, really. So if we have to post an agenda like a week in advance, and the emergency happens, would we still, and we, are meeting someplace else 2 hours before, or 24 hours, we decide 24 hours before that we can't meet in this building because it's been damaged, can we still hold the meeting? And what kind of notice do we have to give to the public that it's teleconference only?
That's a very good question. The Brown Act doesn't specifically address it, so we can certainly consider that and come back and advise the board once that does come about. I mean, the best way to do it, I think, would be to, just kind of speaking off the cuff, is that to call a special meeting and notify everyone that this has occurred.
Yeah.
And or take off the meeting and then re-agendize it. There's
Yeah.
multiple ways to handle it. It really depends on how urgent the business before the board is
Thank you.
at that meeting.
I'll just say that all of you trustees would make excellent law school students with all of these hypotheticals.
Some of us already were excellent law school students.
But you have been silent most of this presentation.
I know it all already.
Typical law school student response. Next, are we on the next slide?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess this one's fine. Another exception to the Brown Act for teleconferencing is for if an individual trustee is disabled and requires remote attendance for ADA purposes. There is no sunset date on this, and the remote appearance for such person will be counted as in person for the quorum. Next slide, please. And again, just as we were talking about before, both audio and video must be on during the duration of the meeting, and before any action is taken, the individual must disclose if there's any other adults in the room and what the relationship is with them. The reason being, again, for that is to avoid any undue influence during the board meeting.
And with this one, we'll also note that the default is audio and video participation, unless, of course, the trustee's particular disability warrants audio only, that's acceptable. Next slide, please. So now MATAC is going to go over some additional SB 707 provisions that are relevant to the board.
Next slide. So these are kind of the ancillary ones that we thought to highlight. The main ones we wanted to focus on were the teleconferencing rules. This other one here is regarding the disruption in meetings. And so before SB 707, the chair could remove individuals who actually disrupt a meeting. And disruption is defined as actually disrupts, impedes, or makes unfeasible the orderly conduct of the meeting. Now, one thing I would like to note, and now it codifies that into the Brown Act. One thing I want to note, though, about disruption is that because we are a government agency and we are part of, and must follow the First Amendment, any reason for removing an individual from a meeting must be content neutral in terms of what they're saying for free speech purposes. So we cannot remove somebody for the purpose of we do not like what they said. We have to take great care to determine if what they said was, First Amendment protected, and really focus more on their conduct during the meeting. So for example, if an individual was running around the dais here and disrupting the meeting, that would be okay for us to warn them and remove them from the meeting because it's disruptive. However, if someone comes to the meeting and tells us they don't like a particular way the board's acting and is very vocal about it, we would have to be very careful and consider how we address that.
So I have some questions about that. This body hears public comment on issues that come before this board, not on issues generally. So if someone were to come and they want to comment on the governor's race, or comment on, I can imagine anything, it's traditionally, they are not allowed to make those comments. So how is the interplay with the First Amendment and the requirement that public speakers address issues that are before the board?
So there is a section in the Brown Act and also on our agendas that allows for public comment regardless of whether it's related to an item on the agenda. So if somebody were to come and want to make a comment of that nature, we would require them to do that during that time period.
So they are allowed to make such comments?
Yes, because
even though we admonish them that's not the case.
I don't think to my knowledge, we've never admonished someone and that they're not allowed to speak. Is a section, if you look at your agenda under the consent section or right before it around that section, that it does allow a public comment period for matters unrelated to the agenda. So anytime a member wants to speak, they can certainly speak during that time period. But if we have moved on and we're talking about reports back from the IC committee or audit committee, for example, that time has passed. And so their comments would have to be related then to an item of the agenda.
Okay. And obviously there's some judgment there that someone, might initially begin addressing the IC committee report and then veer off into, whether or not there's green cheese on the moon. So
right, and we would allow them to make those comments.
We would allow them to make those comments.
Right, it's part of their public comment. But I will say things are limited to 2 minutes, so I mean, it's a fairly limited amount of time.
Okay.
So then you can deviate from that specific agenda item for all intents and purposes? That's what you just said?
Yeah, you can, because you can't anticipate, for example, what they're going to say next. And so within the 2 minute time period, if they begin and start saying something that is related, like how would you know how they're going to tie it back? I mean, it's really hard to know ahead of time, and that's where the content neutral or the content, but you wouldn't kick them out the meeting. So this is what the disruption of the meeting is, to remove them from the meeting.
Prior chairs have cut the speaker off when they are no longer speaking to the topic. I don't know that you ever had to do that, but I know prior chairs have done that.
Well, I have to consider I can't speak in a vacuum. I don't know what was said, and I don't know how closely or not closely or in what circumstances. But what I can say is that SB 707 does address how to go about addressing a member of the public that's being disruptive to your board meeting.
And we'll also note the change to SB 707 with regard to addressing disruptions is more so to make it clear that the same Brown Act rule that applied to addressing disruptions in person also applies to members of the public who are speaking and appearing virtually. So the disruption language hasn't necessarily changed. It's more so empowering the chair of a board to understand and know that you can also limit a public commenter's comments who's appearing virtually.
Perhaps I need further instruction on this, but it sounds like almost anything one can say verbally would not be considered disruptive, and it's more addressed towards behavior. That's how I'm reading your comments here.
So I think it has to be, so I wouldn't say everything verbally is protected by the First Amendment. So if you want to do a deep dive in the First Amendment, we can certainly do that. But there's certain things under the First Amendment are just simply not protected. And so, for example, hate speech is not protected. Anything that incites violence is not protected. There's a litany of other things under the First Amendment that are not protected. And so I would not broadly say any verbal comments would be subject to content, we would allow them to say that. So what I'm saying rather is that when we are looking at the content of an individual speech, we need to take great care for First Amendment considerations. I'm not saying that there's a blanket rule. I'm just saying we have to take great care in light of the First Amendment.
Hate speech is covered under the First Amendment?
I believe so.
No, as long as it doesn't incite imminent violence, it's okay.
Well, I guess hate speech in connection with the incitement of violence, yes, you're right.
That'd be hard for a teleconference person to do. You have to, there's a physical proximity as well under Brandenburg.
Right, but at the same time, though, we do want to make sure there's orderly conduct of the meeting, and that's what the Brown Act allows us to go for. So, I mean, granted, yes, there's varying levels of violations. It could be the constitutionality of the speech, but what we're looking for here in the Brown Act is the disruption of the orderly conduct of the meeting. And so if it rises to a level of disruption of the orderly conduct of the meeting, regardless of whether or not it has any constitutionality, that rises to the level where you are able to take action under this particular statute. Now, whether it exposes you to other liabilities under constitutionality is another question, but for the purposes of this discussion, we're talking about what's authorized under the Brown Act.
And I don't mean to belabor this too much, because this is an area that does come up from time to time. What liabilities would a board chair face if they acted inappropriately under these rules?
You know, this is a new rule, so I don't have any guidance to provide
Okay.
you on it. So again, it was enacted January 1st, 2026. We have not seen it in action, and so it remains to be
But these are
seen.
the same rules that apply online that previously existed for in-person conduct.
Yeah, for
For
sure.
sketch.
We're happy to take a look at if it's the board's desire, understanding kind of what, if any, liability. I know particularly most of the time, in my limited experience when I worked with the city of Richmond before, this Brown Act provision was mostly enacted with people in person saying outrageous things, disrupting the meeting, and then, you know, they got a warning and everything. So I know that there definitely needs to be a policy in place before, just to make sure that everyone's treated equally, and to make sure that it's not particular, like Maytak was saying, oh, well, we didn't like what that person said, so they're out, or we're muting them now. So if
Right.
it's the board's desire to take a look at implementing some sort of policy to make sure that this is straightforward and clear, happy to take a look at that.
And
Okay.
to the liability point, one of the other points that we were going to make was that before removing an individual, we do need to set a record. And so what we do need to do is, one, provide a warning to the individual, make it clear about what the warning is for the removal, document and preserve any public access for those who are not being disruptive, and just demonstrate on the record that we've warned them ahead of time what our position was before. It's like Mariah said, it's not like an automatic, we just mute you because we don't like what you're saying. We do provide a warning about what they're saying, and if they continue to be disruptive, then it's within the board's, or within the chair's authority to act under the Brown Act.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And next on this slide is making sure that each trustee and appointed member to the board receives a copy of the Brown Act. SB 707 now codifies that requirement. Next slide, please. Okay. So out of all that we've discussed, here are some 3 key takeaways that we want you to go away with. First, remember to keep deliberations on the noticed agenda items and to conduct those deliberations during public meetings. Second, use remote participation only under the specified legal frameworks and within the limits we discussed here today with required disclosures. And third, maintain public access while enforcing decorum rules uniformly both to in-person and remote participants. Next slide, please. Oh, and I will also add that, as Maytak mentioned earlier, remember the Brown Act is a floor, and the city of San Jose has its sunshine ordinance, as well as the municipal code that can provide for stricter limits.
Any questions? Any further questions? Okay, well, that was, go ahead, yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, quick question, going kind of back to Spencer's line of thought there. You know, if someone or a board member is attending remotely, and, you know, again, they're in a very public place, and the disruption happens remotely, right, where their mic is on, like you said, we have to leave the mic on, and someone's just yelling and screaming and doing something in the background. It's only the board chair's authority to decide to remove or take action at that point. Not the person, not the remote board member. Is that correct?
to remove them from the meeting. And so if they're in the background, I mean, it's not to say that you as a trustee can't tell them, hey, excuse me, I'm in a meeting, could you please keep it down? That's certainly fine. But to remove somebody from a meeting and prohibit their participation from the meeting, that's what the Brown Act is focused on.
Okay, and that's again on the board chair's authority, right?
To remove somebody, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I would assume then someone speaking who has not been recognized by the chair, that would be considered disruptive behavior?
The board can adopt certain rules, like for example, city council has a bunch of rules that they have regarding public comment about how they go about taking public comment. For example, city council requires you to put a slip sheet and write down who you are and submit your name and put it in and then have an orderly process. We don't have such a public comment process instituted here amongst the board, but we can certainly do something like that. As long as the public is aware and is known as what we consider orderly conduct and what our process would be.
Okay, great. Right. Any further trustee comments? And with respect to what we just heard, is there any public comment? There is none.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was an excellent educational session.
That is not what I was operating under in terms of, I think I could be helpful. Yeah. We need a policy. Moving along then to item 6.1, which is Investment Committee. It looks like our last meeting, I believe our last meeting was prior to the previous board meeting.
Correct.
So nothing to report, oral update from the chair?
Correct.
Okay. Audit Risk Committee. For the last time, Chair Abbott.
Yeah.
Here we have an oral update from the chair of the Audit and Risk Committee.
So, we have essentially closed out, MGO essentially reported that they closed out all of the items, and there is a new item that's being recommended that we look at, which is to have timely reports to, timely accommodate, I didn't put it here in front of me. Timely admission for people that, additions to people that are returning from military leave. So that
Okay,
was the one that they
military
had.
leave,
So
yeah.
essentially, we're closed on the things from last year.
Okay. And then we do have 6.2B, which is discussion action on the management letter from MGO. Is there,
So I'll just include, trustee Abbott referenced the finding from this year. The letter also addresses the finding from last year, which the investment team had addressed, and MGO agreed that it had been remediated. The new finding this year is in relation to ORS's exception processing for people who are on military leave. This creates an exception in our pension gold system and requires reconciliation between our pension gold system and HR's payroll system. This gets caused when a person goes on a military leave. When they come back from military leave, it requires a reconciliation before they get out of this exception process. Traditionally, we see a lot of military people who do military leaves. They often will go on many military leaves, right? It's a call to service, and thank goodness for them. But this also then leaves potentially the members in exception status for years of time. So the audit identified 10 members, but those 10 members, because of the time, had accumulated to about a $1.5 million impact on our valuation process. Also, because they were an exception, we weren't processing updates to their status, so our system was showing that they were on military leave when they really had returned to active employment at the city. So we agree with the finding, and we have already started to, we've already worked through a handful of the known exceptions to work through the reconciliation process with San Jose HR to clear those exceptions out for those members. But we're also looking at enhancements to our pension gold system that will allow us to push through the exceptions. So while they may have been on, let's hypothetically say, a 6-month leave, let's leave that 6-month period in exception, but when they come back, we could start to process their new active payroll and also reflect them accurately in the system. So we're working with our pension gold provider, as well as procedures just internally to be able to handle those cases such that we don't go for this long duration of time for the few members and having them in exception processing.
I have a question. Are there other kinds of reasons why people might be on leave, like disability or childcare or something where they're not actually part of it? I don't know.
Sure, I don't know all the classifications, but you hit probably the two biggest ones why somebody would go on a leave. Those tend to be a little bit more cut and dry. Military leave, there can be some subsidization of earnings while they're on leave.
Yeah.
And so that's why it requires a reconciliation. Typically, when you're out on child care leave, there's no earnings, there's no service credit being earned during those time. And so it is a little bit easier to deal with those cases than the military leaves.
Okay.
But we do biweekly processing, and there are exceptions all the time. Some of them are just unknown ad hoc. Just these military exceptions, the way we've architected our process was they go into the exception. When they get back, we do a reconciliation with HR. When HR finishes that reconciliation, then we go ahead and update our system. What this is showing is that is actually starting to generate, $1.5 million on our valuation is like 0.02% impact. So, it's starting to be material, but I think we have a reasonable way to address it without being overly burdensome.
And does that impact the people that go on military leave, retirement benefits if that's not reconciled?
We would absolutely prioritize reconciliation for people who are going on, who are looking to retire, but we're not in control of the reconciliation process, right? That's something that the city, gets triggered by the city when a member returns from leave, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Any public comment or questions on this agenda item? There's none. Okay, we move on to 6.2.
We do need to accept this.
Oh, we do need to accept
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll move that we accept the findings from MGO with regard to
Oh,
this
for the
item.
MGO, yeah, okay. Is there a second?
Second.
That's a second from trustee Linder, first from trustee Abbott. And again, any questions from trustees on acceptance of the letter? Any public comment on acceptance of the letter? We can vote. Trustee Linder?
Aye.
Trustee Chi?
Aye.
Trustee Abbott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Faulkner?
Aye.
Trustee Nakagawa?
Aye.
Trustee Chandra?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The letter is accepted. And we're on to 6.3A, which is an oral update from the governance chair.
So, and we heard the two items that we discussed last time at the
Mhm.
beginning of our meeting, so I
Mhm.
have no additional comments with
Okay.
regard to that.
If you'll allow me one comment, so with the approval of the new joint educational travel policy, you will need to fill out a new attestation. So just be aware that might be coming. If
The ones that are here.
They already gave them to us.
Are these the new ones or the old ones?
The new one.
The new ones,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
we're gonna sign them and turn them in
Yes,
here,
please.
and we're good.
I already did.
Woo-hoo.
Very efficient.
Yeah. So do we need to, we accept minutes? No, that's the next item, 6.3B. We can receive and
Receive and
file.
file, yep.
6C and D, we took action on. So we are up to 6.4A, Disability Committee. Looks like their last meeting, again, was before the prior board meeting. Is there anything further to update? Disability,
Two things. Our next meeting will be February 10th. I've already okayed a cancellation of the March meeting. We don't have a heavy agenda, and people will be attending the conference down in Southern California at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be turned over to Vice Chair Paul there, who will be the chair going forward, but that's where we are.
Okay, great. Any questions from trustees on this agenda item? Any public comment? Very good. 6.5A, Joint Personnel Committee.
Yeah, there's
Chair-
updates.
Is there anything happening there?
There's some updates.
Yeah.
So, we will be meeting again on the 27th. When we last met on the 8th, we interviewed 7 candidates for the open CIO position. We narrowed that field. I'll just keep the number private for now. And so from that, we intend to narrow the field further and bring the final candidates to the joint meeting of the full board in February. I don't have the date.
February 11th.
Thank you. And so, yeah, the work continues. That was quite the Bataan Death March on January 8th, at least for those of us with ADD. I'm going to sit for 9 hours. But I think the quality of candidates is strong. So hopefully the rest of the board will agree after the JPC is done with its work. And other than that, please receive and file the minutes from that January 8th meeting. Any questions?
Sorry, maybe I missed it. When are we all going to interview?
He just gave the date.
February 11th.
February
February
11th.
11th.
Is a
Somehow
joint meeting of the full
I
board.
know
It
you
should
said
already be
that.
placed on everyone's calendars. 'Cause
I think it is.
I saw
Yeah.
the staff did that.
Please double check.
And again, very important meeting, so hopefully everyone can attend.
Yeah.
I think so.
And that will be a long meeting as well.
I mean,
It depends on the
long-ish.
number of candidates and
Yeah.
the amount of debate.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
But plan on it being a long meeting.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
The full day is blocked out as the calendar invite. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, very good. So minutes are received and filed. Is there any further trustee comment or public comment on this agenda item? No. 7, education and training. You see before you various opportunities for training. We have the Calipers General Assembly coming up in March. I believe a number of us have already put forward the application to attend. I don't know if there's any public comment on any of the agenda items under 7, A, B, C, and D. There are none. Any trustee questions? Any proposed agenda items? Any public comment on proposed agenda items? If not, we are in adjournment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.